Okay. Again, the technique is the same, but what you're going to find is, again, that the bold colors are going to go, finding a light enough green marker, cheat and go to my oh-hoo-hoos, because my Copic died. Finding that light green marker to do the work is going to be tricky. You want the lightest green you've got, and let's see what we've got. I want a scrap of paper here. That'll work. And we'll see how light this one is. You're going to want to check. I usually keep a scrap of Bond. That's the lightest oh-hoo-hoo I have, I believe.
You keep saying, oh,
Is that what it is?
I don't know what it is.
I think that's what it is. They're oh-hoo-hoos. It's a twisted, yeah. Let's see what I got. I got 3 greens in here and maybe something darker. Okay, so let me see if any of these, well, that's certainly not lighter. This one might be a contender. Oh, that's the one I already used. Vivid green, the name scares me. Yep, alright, looks like I'm using, if it were the Copics that I assigned, pea green is what you'd be using. The reason I'm not is because despite, well, the brush works nice, but in spite, actually, yeah. It's dead. But I hit it with alcohol and got another half a drawing out of it, so yay. Alright, what did I figure? Let's lay down some light green, if you consider that light. Same as before, we're doing everything except the hardscape, the house, the roads. So away we go. Now I tend to like, most people like the tracing paper version better at first. I prefer to actually do the Bond. I think the Bond goes a little quicker for me. It's bold, you put it down, it's down there. But you can already tell that it's gonna, it bleeds a little, which you'll notice. So when you get right up next to some lines, you're gonna find it bleeding. Don't worry too much about it. I know you got in trouble as young children going outside the lines, but here it's just going to happen. You'll get a hang for, just a feel for how close you can come and what works. Again, I find it just covers better. Robert, how are those brushes working?
Good.
They're not smearing the paper, the ink?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Using that technique.
Good. Now, I think you'll find that I'm actually going a little faster on this one than I did on the trace. I don't know for sure, but we'll find out. Okay, there's my first layer of green. Now let's go to my light blue. Same thing. There's that. I'm going to hit my second layer of green, which always check to make sure you're grabbing the right marker. Yeah, that's the right one. What you're going to notice, or you should notice, is if you remember when we put the second layer of green on the tracing paper, it didn't really make much of a difference. I'm just filling in the trees now. All I'm doing is the trees. I'm gonna skip that one. I'm not gonna skip it. Hang on. Come back on that. There goes the last drawing.
Did we do that second layer of green the same color?
Yep, it's the same color that I used the first time. I'm just doubling it up, and you'll notice on bond that makes a difference. Whereas on tracing paper you could hardly tell. Let's try I got it double. Sure, there we go. All right. So I got my second layer on it. You can start to see those trees are popping a little bit. I got my first layer on the water. The second layer for the water gets a little more exciting. So last time we just went right to our dark blue. No, actually we just used the medium blue last time. So this one you can't blend it like you could before. And you're gonna see what I mean in a minute. I would definitely have that one ready to go. So I'm gonna put just a couple dots there. Just a little stipple. I would go very sparing on the dots. Because you cannot smudge these around. The dots are, if I work it hard enough, I can sort of now what I'm going to do, instead of doing the whole perimeter, I did a little at the top, I'm going to do a little at the bottom. And that's going to be it, because if I put those blue dots all the way around, I'm really scrubbing those to see if I can get anything out of them. I really can't. So I'm relying on a second layer of that blue to do the same thing. So I'm just kind of going around the perimeter and feathering it out. You can just put that up here in the dust. The poor thing keeps falling on the floor. It's trying to tell me something. Put a couple dots in there with your second blue, and that's going to be good enough. I wouldn't even work that dark blue in there anymore, because it's just going to make a mess.
Go around the edges with the dark blue?
No, just a little bit. I put a little at the top and a little at the bottom, but you give it a second coat with your light blue. See what happens when I build up those two coats? Look over here. See, that's just two coats of the same color. And it's having kind of the same effect. All right, now I'm going to go on to the trees, and we're going to move to a medium green, which is moss, I believe, on your Copics. So again, we're just looking at a 45-degree angle on the back side of the trees.
This way?
I can't tell, Robert. Hang on. Let me see. Sure, try it. See how it goes. It's good. Okay. Another nice thing about working on bond is whereas on tracing paper we had to wait for it to dry a little bit, not so much with bond. It dries pretty quick. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to my first green, the light green, and I'm going to do a big tree here to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going kind of 3/4 of the way through. Just kind of scrubbing that line and then going back. Just scrub the line a little and then just go back. What that's doing is it's giving me a third tone. And it's softening. So I'm filling in all the dark green, but I'm putting a little line of it ahead. It doesn't blend it perfectly, but again, now all of a sudden I have 3 shades. I've got just the light green, I've got the edge of the light green by the dark green, and it might pick up a little of that dark green. And then I've got the middle green. Dark green's coming.
So when we color these, they're gonna be a white, right?
Hmm?
When we color these, they're gonna be bigger, right?
Well, it's just this whole drawing
But without the circle.
without the circle part, yes. Alright, now I've put down that layer. While I'm letting that kind of sink in for a minute, I might do some of my grays on the sidewalk. The lightest gray I can find, my Cool Gray 3. But again, you just want to hint at it just a little bit. Just in the corners. Just in the corners. Well, pick the lightest one. Probably that one. Go get 'em. And that's going to be about it for shading on that. I'm not going to put much more. I'm going to put kind of alternated on that. pavement. I'm going to get my lightest brown. And I'm going to fill in some of these stones. Actually, if you have the brush Copics, I'm just putting some dots in around the perimeter there. I'm going to go ahead while I've got this one out. Actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to take my darker brown now and I'm going to start hinting at some of the mulch. Just some spots of it.
You said the dark green?
Yep, just for the mulch. Just hint at it. Couple dots in a couple places. We don't want a lot because we're going to go over it with the light brown. Okay, got the mulch beds. All right, now I'm going to get my dark green. That's this guy. I'm just going to do a pass on the back edge of the tree, kind of like this.
So the mulch, you're not going all the way around? You're just
Not
doing
yet.
Little spots?
Little spots, 'cause I'm going to take my light brown
Yeah.
and I'm going to go all the way around. with the
Okay.
light brown.
And you're just like dragging it around, or you're just dabbing it around?
I'll probably be dabbing it, but
Okay.
I'm going to go all the way around.
Okay.
Try and blend that a little bit, make it a little soft.
Okay.
Okay, so I basically put that line of dark green at the back side of the trees. Now I'm going to take my medium green and just get the front edge of that dark one to try and blend it in a little more. So now what I've got is actually 5 tones in these trees. I've got my light green. I've got an extra layer of the light green. I've got my medium green with an extra layer of the light green. Then I've got just the medium green. Then I've got my dark green with an extra layer of the medium green over it. So like I said, if you see on that tree, I've actually got 5 layers going on there. And it's just to soften those edges. And the other thing you'll notice, like when I'm putting this medium green on the dark green, it almost looks the same color. As the inks dry, they get less vivid, which is a blessing. But when you're working on it, you're like, oh, I've done it, I've screwed up, it's really too dark. But it'll fade out. All right. Actually, the only thing I've got left to do, I want to finish the mulch. I'll use my light tan. And I'm going to try and smudge around that dark brown that I put in. And just fill it all in. But I am going to do something with my light green that I didn't do before. tree there. I might put a little splash of green in. Ooh, that's not good. We don't want that. Now I just like saying oh hoo hoo. All right, so now I've gotten like 5 layers on the trees. I've got 1 layer on the grass. Let's do our red and see where that leads us. I've lost my red. There it is. Okay, I'm going to go over the property line. So if that's crooked, that almost burned me last time. So I'll use this instead. I'm not going to do the road. I'm going to do this guy. Now, a fun little thing you can do with that scale, I know it's small, but if you let that red dry, and then we're going to come in and we're going to put a couple red highlights in it. I'm probably not going to color the chimney only because my red is just so vivid that it will just leap off the page. Now I want to just put a little bit of, I want to put some dark browns. Just a couple. Fill in a couple of those stones. And I'm going to feather that out a little bit more because I'm not totally happy with that yet. Yeah, I like that better. I could add a little more to the driveways. I could put a second layer on that, but I do so very, very sparingly. I'm talking about, this is with the same gray, the same light gray. Just put a little bit in the corners of where we did it. These are subtle things, but subtle's okay. Now, that tree looks like it hasn't been fully addressed. Not YouTube. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my light green, wherever I took that, and I'm going to kind of highlight a couple corners and the edge of the building. By that I mean I'm going to put a second layer of the original light green, and I'm just going to go right around the outside edges of the building. And I'll do it around the perimeter of the, and I'll do a little around the perimeter of the, but I want to feather it out, and I'll put some in spots on the right. A lot of tapping. I should hear a lot of tapping when you're doing this. Okay, I'm gonna do a little in the corner of the driveway, same thing. Little in this corner where the road meets it. And place else, I think could use just a little more. Okay, you can probably start to see that there's like a green halo around the lake and around the building. And that's from putting that second layer on. Makes it stand out a little bit. Only thing left to do is the yellow flash for color. So the coloring's done. And then, of course, actually, the yellow flash isn't supposed to happen until after I do my ink work. I'm mainly concerned with doing the ink work matters because print's pretty dark, so it's actually, you might get lucky. But here, whereas before I could just be kind of close enough for the stems of the trees, here I really want to follow the drawing. There's the thin Sharpie.
I was pretty confused with the paper.
Yeah, that's a problem. It's, you really don't want to do that, because that big one makes a big impression. All right, what I've done, let's do this. I'm going to do the same exercise I did before, which is I'm going to ink in some of the lines. And stop. You are going to want to do all the lines. I know you don't think you have to because you're looking at it and saying, well, they're pretty dark. It does make a difference.
That's
Is,
including the grass.
what's that?
That's including the grass.
That's including the grass. But the most, I will say, the most important part is going to be the trees. That line work, it's going to be real necessary to bring that out because it doesn't show up, especially underneath all that green. For example, you can kind of see these trees have been done. No, that one's not done.
And this drawing's on the 11 by 18, right?
No, this is 8.5 by 11. Yeah, I'm not making the color 11 by 17. Used to years ago. That's back when markers were $3 a piece. Okay, so I've done the ink work here, and I haven't down here. It does make a difference. You just got to kind of trust me on that one. You are going to have to re-ink. Go ahead and put that yellow flash in there. And I know I should ink this first, but I'm just going to put it in anyways. Notice the difference the yellow makes and how it starts to pop off those trees. And in the bond, it's even more pronounced. Again, the bond is just a much more vivid drawing. I'm gonna go ahead and put some shadows on the trees. Fat Sharpie.